graduated as a lawyer, was called to the bar in 1989. By the grace of God, in the ministry, I've been here for quite a while. And I appreciate our daddy. He's been like a father to so many of us in the ministry here. We look up to him because of the stabilizing roles he plays as a father in this area and beyond. So Daddy, thank you for the opportunity granted to me. I don't take it for granted. God bless you, sir. So, towards a better and greater Nigeria. Nigeria as a nation of over 250 ethnic nationalities spread over a geographical area of over 900,000 square kilometers came into being with the amalgamation of 1914. Historical fact. Then the southern and northern protectorate of the British enclaves were fused into a nation through various colonial administrations, several constitutions, and of course their divide and rule policy. Nigeria managed to extricate herself from the clutches of her colonial masters in 1960. The groundwork for self-governance led by various fathers of the nationalist movement spanning through Herbert Macaulay, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Ahmadu Bello, and a host of others who through their sacrifices, vision, and dexterity brought us to the golden shores of freedom. Then, the country stood on a tripod of regions before the Midwestern region joined. And later, the 6 geopolitical zones became a clearer offshoot of that hazy ideal. Thus, while Western region, one practical note of the post-colonial era politics was the zeal with which each zone tried to develop and pursue her developmental strides. While Western region prided herself with her cocoa warehouses, the North her groundnut pyramids, the Eastern region was painted red with her palm oil. It's amazing that the crude oil had not flowed from the Niger Delta, and the current bloodletting attendant to its discovery had not begun. Then we had a nation where the founding fathers were determined to realize the essence of our nationhood. Ethnicity and tribalism have not knocked on our doors, neither have religion unveiled her long-drawn daggers of destruction. We were truly a united, though diverse in our approach to issues of economy, education, power, etc. Each region sought out her means of development, and there was no quarrel over who shares and who gets what. However, our founding fathers were wise enough to set out a vision for the upcoming generation through the Constitution. Not only did it function as a ground norm, it provided a compass for developmental and social engineering. A chapter was wisely included, known as Fundamental Objectives and Directive Principles of State Policy. The CDC, or Constitutional Drafting Committee, says, by fundamental objectives, we refer to the identification of the ultimate objectives of the nation, while directing principles of state policy indicate the powers which lead to these objectives. According to them, developing nations tend to gravitate more with material exercise rather than pursue policies and ideas that will enhance the majority. Thus, these objectives were well thought out and enshrined as a guidepost for our political survival and progress as a nation. I know that some of us may not be conversant with this, so I took I wanted to ensure that we're on the same page, so I took out time to download some of it, because many of us are only conversant with the rights and the privileges, the burdens and the benefits of the Constitution, not knowing that the founding fathers took time to lay a direction for the upcoming statesmen on what they ought to do to make sure that the country moves forward. So, I put some part of it, it's a little bit long, but I read it out fast. It says, it shall be the duty and responsibility of organs of government and all authorities and persons exercising legislative, executive, or judicial powers to conform to, observe, and apply the provision of this chapter of this Constitution. And the chapter, like I told you, was simply the fundamental objectives and directing principles of state policy. Now, part of it, which I copied out, section 14, says the government and the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria shall be a state based on the principles of democracy and social justice. It is hereby accordingly declared that sovereignty belongs to the people of Nigeria, from whom government through this Constitution derive all its power and authority. So authority doesn't belong to the politicians, it belongs to who? The people. It belongs to who? The people. It belongs to who? The people. The people are, that's you and I. The security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. Hello? Hello? Please, I need some response. It says, the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government, including this government. The participation by the people in their governance shall be ensured in accordance with the provision of this Constitution. The Constitution of the Government of the Federal Republic or any of its agency and the conduct of its affairs shall be carried out in such a manner as to reflect the federal character of Nigeria and the need to promote national unity and also to command national loyalty, thereby ensuring that there shall be no predominance of persons from a state, from a few states, or from a few ethnic or other sectional groups in that government or in any of its agencies. The composition of the government of a state, local government council, or any other agency of such government or council, and conduct of affairs or council of such agency shall be carried out in such a manner as to recognize the diversity of the people within this area of authority and the need to promote a sense of belonging and loyalty among all the people of the Federation. Political objectives. Accordingly, national integration shall be actively encouraged, while discrimination on the grounds of place of origin, sex, religion, status, ethnic or linguistic association or ties shall be prohibited. The state shall foster a feeling of belonging and of involvement among various people of the Federation, to the end that loyalty to the nation shall override the sectional loyalties. These are things that the founding fathers, they foresaw that if nothing is done, a time may come when some people may come to hijack the power and decide within themselves to appropriate the collective goods of the nation unto themselves, onto an ethnic group or onto a tribe or onto a religion. So to forestall it, they put this as a guiding principle so that every member of Nigeria is entitled to feel belong to such a position or such a point that loyalty to the nation should override loyalty to our ethnic groups. Are we together so far? Yes, sir. Are we together so far? Yes, sir. So from what we've read, we find out that within the period that our founding fathers operated, they kept particularly this objective in mind. That was why somebody like an Omar at time was the first elected mayor in Enugu. That's an awesome man, the first elected mayor in Enugu. I mean, you can imagine the heartland of the East. This man came out, contested, and was chosen by all to be the mayor. Likewise, you have various people operating in various areas. And in Ijoku and Kenneth Dike operated in the West. And so many people operated in different areas of the country because as at that point, people were chosen based on what they had to offer. Then entered the military interregnum. Kaduna Zogu and his major stroke, aborted by Erosin, the encounter coup of Gowon, the massacres, and the advent of the ugly chapters in Nigerian history. You know what I'm referring to, the Nigerian Civil War, lasting from 67 to 70. From then, in place of true federalism, we moved towards unitary. We began to operate the unitary system of government. We had states being created, and with the creation of states and the new constitution, we find out that power migrated from the regions to the center. Now, the power equation had left the regions and migrated to the center, which in turn muscled their way into the national psyche. With this, according to Proverbs 22 verse 28, the Bible says, "Do not remove the ancient landmark which your fathers have set." The nation removed her ancient landmark, moved from the type of constitution we're operating to a different type, and injustice became the order of the day. Isaiah 59 verse 14. It says, "Justice is turned back and righteousness stands afar off. For truth is fallen in the street, and equity cannot enter." Today everybody is crying. I overheard our daddy when he was talking said that people are crying because what is on ground, the nation is no longer what it ought to be. It's simple. When you truncate and deal with truth in such a way that you see white and call it black, you truncate justice. And justice and equity go together. We don't have time to go into that now. Gradually, the fabric of the nation has been corrupted and corroded by marauders and invaders. Today, we hear of monumental corruption that sends shivers down the spine of any individual. Before you talk about Nigeria to be better, you need to explain what is on the ground. You need to know Nigeria as it was, which is what I've taken time to look at. You need to know Nigeria as it is, and then you need to know Nigeria as it ought to be. So we see a scenario in Nigeria today. Just last This week, the man that is supposed to be the chief accountant of the federal resources has been caught with stealing how much? How much? 80 billion. Take time and think about it. 80 billion, even if he's spending 1 million on a daily basis, he can't finish that money until he dies. As a matter of fact, with 1 billion, like they say, I'm not a mathematician, they say if you have 1 billion, if you are spending 100,000 every day out of it, it will take you 27 years to finish it. So you can imagine somebody stealing 80 billion. And from some sources, they said this is just a tip of the iceberg, that they just didn't want to shock the nation. That's why they said it's only 80 billion. Say more than 80 billion. That's minus houses. They said 17 houses thereabout have been so far recovered. From one man, that when ASU, my daughter has been at home for the past going to 4 months now, and ASU was asking for 18 billion, and the man was shouting, what do they mean? How can they be asking of 18 billion? Is the money not too much? Meanwhile, the thief have 80 billion stashed away. So our students are at home, lecturers not being paid, and one man carried the money and put aside. Have you not wondered, when did Abacha die? Abacha died 1993, I suppose. When did Abacha die? 95, thereabout. As of this year, we are still receiving $200 and something million from Abacha roots. Every year, money still comes back. So, how did we come to this point? Bible says if a man steals to satisfy his hunger, he won't go free. But these ones are not stealing to satisfy their hunger. They are stealing to satisfy even generations they don't know that will be born or not born. A friend of mine who is into international finances told me something that shocked me. He said, most of these people you see carrying money out, they don't know the things they sign. That the things they sign is there in the document, because he's into international funding. He said the document they sign states clearly that in case of death, their relatives will not receive more than 7% of the money they took out. So somebody steals 1 billion from Nigeria and then takes it to Switzerland and then dies, and the Swiss authorities, they have the man's signature saying, don't give me more than 7%. So what happens to the rest of the money? He ends up denying an entire generation. That's why if you're into international funding, that's what they know as the IP, I don't know whether anybody knows what I'm talking about. A fund that belongs to United Nations that runs into trillions of dollars that people are laying hand on and downloading for social development all over the globe. Is there. These are monies that people stole and cannot be recovered over the years, running into trillions. So, where we are today, talking about somebody stealing 80 billion, that's injustice. And what about a man in Borno State, for example, who stays in Borno State and gets so many oil wells in Bayelsa State, and the people there are smelling and drinking contaminated water and dying of cancer and pollution? And the man in Borno State takes the money free from the oil and goes to America to set up chairs in universities. What I'm telling you is a fact. Or some people have so much Like Danjuma, he tells us he doesn't know what to do with money again, so he returns 500 million to the federal government. Now the question is, the people that these things are being drilled from their compounds, some of them don't have clean drinking water. So how do you talk about social justice with those kind of scenarios? Now, a man rose in Nigeria, and almost 8 years, the things we read out from the directive principles of state policy, you can see whether he kept it or not. Abusing the Constitution is meant to uphold, and for almost 8 years, some particular tribe or tribes are excluded from security architecture, while all arms of military apparatus are concentrated in the hand of his tribe. An open agenda to impose the supremacy of a degenerated group of marauders by taking their land by right of his right. It is on record that less than 5% of kidnappers and terrorists go to court, while the innocent citizens are left to devise strategies for survival. That's Nigeria as it is. Now the question is, how do we move forward? How do we move forward? So, we go through that quickly and we take some questions, if time permits. That's moving towards a greater and better Nigeria. If we want to move forward, we must, number one, restore the ancient landmarks. Restore the ancient landmarks. There is a reason the founding fathers wanted us to feel Nigerian first. They wanted us, everybody, to feel to belong first. Section 4 of the political objectives that we read clearly states, the state shall foster a feeling of belonging. The state shall foster a feeling of belonging and of involvement among the various people of the Federation, to the end that the loyalty to the nation shall override sectional loyalties. So we must come to a point where we feel Nigerian first. This is what the Germans call the Volksgeist, the spirit of the nation. We can call it patriotism. The zeal to proclaim that I am so and so. The unbreakable spirit of the nation. Look at what is going on in Ukraine. Russia thought they can overrun Ukraine within a matter of weeks. That fight has gone on for 3 months plus, and Russia is being confounded that the people they thought they can overrun is giving them a fight for their life. Don't forget that before the disintegration of the USSR, Ukraine used to be the manufacturing hub, firearms manufacturing hub of the Soviet Union. And they were made to surrender most, if not all, of their military equipment. But then, Ukraine have something that Russia underrated. That is the spirit of the nation, the patriotic spirit. And that's what made them to cry out. They have a comedian as a president, but the comedian has been able to galvanize the nation, and the nation is fighting back. Today, Russia has decided to withdraw to the lower part, southern part of Ukraine, and they are consolidating. But I have no doubt that Ukraine will eventually pursue them out of the place. Be that as it may, if you are an American is ready to die for his nation because he believes that his nation will go to any mile, extra mile to rescue him. A few months back, last year, some Americans, about 1 or 2 Americans, were kidnapped in Mali, or thereabout, and they were brought to Nigeria. The Americans tracked them from America, sent soldiers through Mali, came down to Nigeria, rescued their man and left. But if it's Nigeria, the papers won't even mention it. What is -1? So a nation that is ready to do anything for you, people are ready to do anything for the nation. Hello? Hello? Today people are willing to identify with their tribes rather than the nation. Now they call Sunday Igbo and the host of other ethnic irredentists are there to prove me right. Why are they the doing of the masses? Because a group has arisen to claim that Nigeria is their grandfather's heritage. So you either take it or leave it. They claim that want to rule you and I, and to prove that their foot soldiers are maroon the entire forest enclave, striking fear into ordinary citizens trying to make a living. Even when their Missouri has brought Nigeria on her knees and made us a laughing stock in the Committee of Nations. The sage from the West, Chief Obatemi Awolowo, foresaw it and encouraged Nigeria to go beyond a mere geographical expression. Nations that try achieve that first as the first indices of survival. The definition of nation group as a group bound together culturally or linguistically comes to mind. An expert of identity proves that we need more work in this direction. Today, Rwanda is riding high because they've been able to exercise the demons of tribe and tongue differentials that has pinned Africa to the ground for centuries. This I learned at the foot of the Berlin Conference that partitioned Africa out of their whims rather than taking time to delineate boundaries in accordance with acceptable norms of nationhood. Praise the Lord. So, if we want a greater and better Nigeria, the beginning point is to make me feel Nigeria. Make our children feel Nigeria. Hello? If we don't feel Nigerian, we cannot be Nigerian. Today, people think in terms of their ethnicity first, before any other thing. And I guess that's why a group like this is set up. So we need to fight this battle from the mind first. If we can get our mind, and for you to do that, you cannot transfer the injustice to the upcoming generation and expect they will notice. The mistake Nigerian government made is that immediately after the Civil War, they declared the 3 R's. And the 3 R's was not pursued to a logical conclusion. And so in the mind of some of the protagonists of that war, the war is still raging. And a generation has arisen that didn't see that war. And that generation is noticing that they are being treated as third-class citizens in their country. So people are making the mistake of thinking that when you hear about the Biafra struggle, it is the Biafra of 1967 to 70. It is not that Biafra. The Biafra that is raging now is the Biafra of the injustice that the generation that didn't partake in that war is experiencing, and that saying we can't take it anymore. I don't know whether somebody is understanding me. And it is like that. You cannot run a nation built on injustice and expect everybody to feel Nigerian. My son takes unity school exam. He scores 200. And you ask him, where are you from? He tells you, I'm from Oyo State, from Accra State, I'm from Delta State. Then you disqualify him. And the same boy hears that somebody from Taraba takes the same exam and scores 30 and you took him, and tomorrow you expect him to be in Nigeria, it's a problem. So if we want to make Nigeria work, we need to address the injustice. We need to address the equity and the fairness. We need these things to be corrected. You can't declare in the civil service we want to employ people, and then every state is told to bring 5 persons, and some states are bringing 30 and you're accommodating them, and you expect that the people won't complain. Are we together? Praise the Lord. So we need to redefine our Nigerianness. We need to redefine our Nigerianness. Injustice is enshrined right at the forefront of the ground norm. In my thesis, my listing in the university, I wrote on distributive injustice in the 1979 Constitution, and I took time to examine as far back as 1988 when I did my project. I took time to write on injustice in the distributive injustice enshrined in the Nigerian Constitution, and it was so much. And as if you want to correct Nigeria and make it better and better, correct it. Correct it. Number 2, challenge the status quo. Challenge the status quo. Proverbs 28:28 says, when the wicked arise, men hide themselves, but when they perish, the righteous increase. Instead of hiding ourselves, there's the need to take our destinies in our hands. There's the need to take our destinies in our hands to correct some of this injustice. The youths in Nigeria got tired of being branded, molested, and killed by a white group of armed robbers who were empowered by state machinery. They began the End SARS movement, and today SARS have been crippled to a point that these youths can move freely. Otherwise, people will just be arrested and some of them killed unnecessarily for right movements. Civil disobedience sometimes is very, very necessary so that we will tell the authorities that are reigning that power belongs to who? Power belongs to who? I don't have time to go into the story of social contract. So you know that actually it's you and I that surrender our rights so that the leaders can lead us and make the necessary provision. But where they fail to make those provisions, we should be able to tell them you didn't get it right. Evil is a coward and cringes at the resistance of knowledge. When the wicked is in power, tears, pain, and frustration is the hallmark. This was the history of the world of slavery, till a man set on bringing changes. His name William Wilberforce. He championed the passage of the Slave Trade Act of 1807 that reverberated in America and other parts of the world. Without that man rising up, and when he was talking about slavery, they were mocking him and they were telling him that he's a fool, called him all manner of names, and this is what he said. If to be feeling alive to the suffering of my fellow creatures is to be a fanatic, I am one of the most incurable fanatics ever permitted to be at large. That's William Wilberforce. And so he fought for what he believed was right. And today we saw that slavery is free, slaves have been set free, even through Abraham Lincoln and others. Power belongs to the courts. That's what they tell us now. So, don't bother going into politics because it is a dirty game. That's what they was saying. That's what they said. That is dirty. I used to challenge the expression that says power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. I said it is not true. Power does not corrupt. It is people that corrupt power. People corrupt power. Power is like money. Money in the hand of a philanthropist, a good man, is an instrument to do good. But money in the hand of an oppressor is an instrument of oppression. So that is how it is. And it is what it is. So politics is not dirty. It is people that play it that make it dirty. People do all sorts of things to get elected. You swear allegiance to either Ogoni Illuminati or through one ritual or the other. And Christians are forced to back out. I remember in those 80s, this man that just died the other day, Arthur Zerida, if you want to go to the House of Assembly or House of Representatives, they'll put a coffin and ask you to pass the coffin. Now, if you do that, what do you expect? The same thing goes to people that go to shrine to swear an oath of allegiance. What do you expect? I have a friend, a very good close friend. He was the best friend in our class. He's practicing in Owerri, doing very well, very intelligent, brilliant. Made 2-1 in our school, made 2-1 in the law school, very excellent. And he wanted to contribute to the development of the judiciary. So he decided he wants to go into to be a judge. They looked at his record, they said, excellent. They appointed, the governor nominated him. And they interviewed him, he found out that he qualified. Then they said, before you become one, this is what you ought to do. The boy said, what? Me join a cult because I want to be a judge? And he backed out. And today he's still doing his practice. So when you hear people rising to a certain level and they are doing what you know, they know is wrong, they are being moderated and controlled from somewhere. Evil men and evil associations that some of them belong to are not allowing them to use their discretion. So let's be careful. If we want, we need to do something, challenge the status quo. As long as this continues unabated, we'll continue to be forced into a corner. The tragedy of our time is that good men resign to complain and what the renegades take the reign of our feathers. If you go to a place like Imo State now, all the politicians there, they are from a certain class. We know where they were coming from. Some of them were carrying laptops in Festac, and when they go into power, what do you expect? They carry their associates. One of them had a hotel here in Lagos, and when his colleagues became governor, he said, what am I wasting my time here? And he packed his things and went back to Imo State, and he told his friends, now this is the proper work it has set. And the people are suffering. And the good men keep off, and the evil men are in power. We must realize, if you are a child of God that is running from politics, that government is an octopus. The decisions and implications are far-reaching. Take for instance, if you are born, the government will have to give you a birth certificate to say you are born. Otherwise, you are not born. If you die, the government will have to give a death certificate. Otherwise, you are not dead. If you are married and the government say this is a certificate proving that you are married, the society will still see you as unmarried. You have a business, you need to be incorporated. You have land, the government will say this is your land, otherwise you don't have a land. The vehicle you are driving, they can flag you down in the middle of the road and say it's not your vehicle because you don't have the proper papers. You need your tax clearance to operate, and all certificates come from government, and government can make you disappear and clean up your record as though you never existed. And they go through the record, the database, and you don't exist. You say, but I'm here. They say, we are not seeing you. So that's the power of the government. So the people that make this kind of far-reaching decisions are not people you toy with. So if there's anything you and I can do to get involved in governance, better do it. So what should we do? Number one, we should not only pray, but we should also watch. We should not only pray, but we should also watch. When we limit our participation to praying alone, those who act will walk away with our collective goods. We must realize that victory is a fusion of the spiritual and the carnal when it comes to politics. They say politics is a game of number, and so you don't speak in tongues and win election. You vote to do what? Otherwise, what belongs to all of us will be stolen. Now let me give you an example. In those 1970s, in my area, if somebody dies, my area is predominantly Catholics. They will gather together and they will pray. In the process of praying, they will bring food, maybe a basin of rice, and they will put meat on top of it. And they hold down, they will pray, they will sing. So one day, they were praying, they were singing. In the process of praying and singing, with their eyes closed, a dog came and carried the meat on top of the rice and was running away. And then one man whose eyes was open shouted, "Pursue that dog, he's carrying the meat." And that was how the prayer stopped. And they pursued the dog and retrieved the meat. Now supposing everybody's eyes was closed, what do you think would have happened? The dog would have eaten the meat and everybody would be looking at somebody as, you must be the one, you must be the one, let's search your bag. So what we are saying in essence is this: we need to be awake to our responsibilities. We need to ensure that as Moses is praying on the mountain, that we have a Joshua, Caleb, and other military strategists that are there fighting and wielding the sword. So while we pray, get involved. Get involved. And getting involved includes being sensitive to the people that are coming out that want to rule you and I. For example, was it last week? A young lady was killed in Sokoto State. And people were shouting. And a particular politician that says he has 11 million votes in his city sent out a tweet. And as soon as he sent out the tweet, some people challenged him, "Oh, we are not going to vote for you again because you condemned blasphemy." He quickly deleted the tweet. And people challenge him on that. You know who I'm talking about? Well, who killed the Giwa? Baba, if you put Gida and Yusuf. That's what they sang. I didn't say it. Now, that will give you an indication of the way his mind is working. That he is interested in carrying out the whims and the caprices of a particular set of people, condemning injustice, the life of a young girl that was snuffed off unnecessarily. So if you want to vote, even if I had in mind to vote for him before, that singular act had removed me from those that will vote for him. So what we're saying in essence is this: open your eyes. People say politics is dirty, but amongst the people that are canvassing, there are still some people that are doing the right thing. I know of one that said he's not going to give any delegate any money. That when you want to vote as a delegate, put the picture of your children in front of you. If that is not enough to convince you to do the right thing, forget it. And he's been shouting that all over the nation. He may not be of your tribe, he may not be of your religion, but let's for once, if we want a better Nigeria, do the right thing. Like they say, it's only a madman that will do the same thing over and over and over and expect a different result. We can't keep heaping and voting for those who will ensnare, who will mortgage, who will go there to make sure that some of them go there trekking within 6 months. They're buying cars. And nobody's asking, how did you buy this car? Buying houses, taking their girlfriends to Dubai, and we are shouting and encouraging that. Let's be careful. Number two, get your cards. Get your cards. We can't overemphasize that. You don't vote with speaking in tongues. You don't go to the polling booth and say, I want to vote. They say, what is your name? You begin to rabble in tongues. No. You show them your PVC. So if you are here and you don't have a PVC, it's a criminal offense. And all of us, we have spheres of influence. Go back home within this period. Tell everyone that is within your sphere of influence that is up to 18 years and above, go and get your PVC. That's what you use in voting. So get your card. Get your card. And also remember, you cannot leave voting for others alone. You can get others to vote for you. The Constitution didn't say you have the right to vote. It said you have the right to vote and be voted for. I was discussing with one of my friends who is a pastor. I said, look, why don't you come out as a local government chairman? He was just laughing. I said, yes. You know why I said so? He said, why? I said, number one, you are a pastor, so you have some sphere of influence. You are the crown, kineko in this entire area. Secondly, as somebody from this state, you have influence even within the Southeasterners and the other non-Igbos. I said, I will mobilize for you. Come out. I was looking at me. I said, come out. Now I will be among those that will mobilize and run around this entire area with the Christendom to vote for you. He said, and he stopped. Because he thinks it's right. It's just to vote and not to be voted for. And candidly, if he starts working at it, he's one that I know his influence crisscrosses the Christendom, both Catholic, non-Catholic, all over, and he's a Yoruba, and most of his friends are Igbos. I said, I don't see any reason why you can't win the election. Come out and we'll vote for you. I will talk to him again. But if he says no, well, we'll take it at that. Number 3, hold them accountable. Hold them accountable. Hold the politicians accountable. Sir, I hope I'm not overspending my time. Sir, Daddy, have I overblown my time? How many minutes? 5 to 10 minutes. Now, around. Hold the politicians accountable. We as a people, we are too docile. You elect people and you don't ask them what they are doing there. Because they have a feeling that we elect them to go there and be a big man. No. The day you came to look for my vote, you say you are going to serve me.